Hello, welcome to this video on the Upanishads. First, we're going to be taking a quick look at the Isha Upanishad. We're going to be using the translation by Eknath Easwaran, and we'll just begin. This comes from verses 6 through 7, and then skipping on down to verse 9. Those who see all creatures in themselves, and themselves in all creatures, know no fear. Those who see all creatures in themselves, and themselves in all creatures, know no grief. How can the multiplicity of life delude the one who sees its unity? In dark night lived those for whom the world without alone is real. In night darker still for whom the world within alone is real. The first leads to a life of action, the second to a life of meditation. But those who combine action with meditation cross the sea of death through action and enter into immortality through the practice of meditation. So we have heard from the wise. So we get the idea here that those who engage in spiritual practices, whether it's prayer or meditation, that they really can get involved in a kind of oil and water mentality where the spiritual life and the daily life never seem to fit together. And this kind of mentality is dangerous because it means that spirituality will be compartmentalized and separated from everyday life. Those new to the spiritual life, including myself, when first taking up these pursuits, will tend to become engulfed in them and lose sight of everything else in life, and will focus on spiritual practice to the exclusion of everything else. And it will certainly produce results, even spectacular results, but at the same time, daily life will tend to fall apart. And then on the opposite extreme are those for whom only activity counts. And the defect in this kind of a life is that it becomes another form of anxiety and stress, and is perhaps highly productive in a worldly sort of a sense, but is not very satisfying. So the only way to combine these two approaches is to meditate in the midst of activity, to take times aside for meditation and prayer, yes, but to reintegrate the two halves of life and bring the spiritual into the mundane and the mundane into the spiritual. And this Isha Upanishad tells us that that's really the way to immortality. And what is immortality in this context? It's not living forever necessarily. It's more finding the eternal in the midst of the finite, and finding the one in the midst of multiplicity. So this Upanishad outlines a deeply satisfactory path that crosses over some of the opposites that we sometimes find in religion and spirituality, and even philosophy, between the spiritual and the mundane, and gives us a way to synthesize these two facets of life. So that's a brief selection from the Isha Upanishad, and I hope that you enjoyed it.